Hi, I'm Bill from CJ Pony Parts. One of my favorite things about the Mustang hobby is how easily it is to modify your car. While you might see a lot of modified cars that are similar, you really never see two that are identical. There's just so many options out there. My personal car, I love to mix and match parts from different cars to give it a real unique look. When my car is not a Shelby, it's not a Roush, but it doesn't mean I can't take some parts from those cars and give my car a real unique look. One part I've always been a really huge fan of is the Roush front fascia, and today we're going to install it on my 2015 Mustang GT. I picked the Roush front fascia for a couple reasons. One of the main reasons is I love the look. I know I use the word aggressive a lot, but it has a very aggressive look to it. I love the way the splitters are, I love the sides, and I love the grille assembly itself. The second reason is quality. I mean, the Roush front fascia, you're talking the exact same material as your OEM fascia. Now, there's a lot of aftermarket stuff that might be questionable. When dealing with Roush, you know you're getting OEM quality, which is very important to me. The installation is also very straightforward, as it'll be a direct swap for my factory bumper. Now, I do have to mention, I had mine pre-painted. We do offer the Roush fascia here at CJ's. It comes in a black finish, so you'll want to paint it and prime it before installation. Like I mentioned, the Roush fascia is a direct replacement for the factory fascia. This is going to fit your 2015 through 2017 GT V6 or EcoBoost. It will not fit the Shelby and will not fit any car with adaptive cruise control. For this installation, you need a lift or a jack and jack stands, 1/4 inch ratchet, 5.5 millimeter socket, 7 millimeter socket, 8 millimeter socket, 7 millimeter ratcheting wrench, small flathead screwdriver, push pin removal tool or flathead screwdriver, drill, and a 1/4 inch drill bit. Now, obviously, the first step of the installation is to remove the factory front fascia, and we're going to start by removing the radiator cover. To remove the cover, simply remove these 8 push pins. Cover off, remove these 6 bolts across the front. Now for 2 of the 4 screws that cause a lot of owner's damage. Underneath this seal on the end, there are 2 more tiny 5.5 millimeter screws you have to remove. Now, with the carb near, you want to remove the front belly pan. In my case, I have an aftermarket splitter, but the removal process is the same. Simply remove all the screws along the front and then the plastic push pins. The panel off, now remove the harnesses for the fog lights and marker lights. Do the same on both sides. Now moving to the wheel well area on both sides, we're going to remove these 3 clips, one here, and one tucked up in here. What you're going to do now is pull the splash shield back. Now, this is the second, or probably the most common way, honestly, people damage their bumper. There's a little screw right here, little 7 millimeter. You got to remove that to remove the bumper. And repeat the process on the other side. And now we're ready to actually remove the bumper cover itself. The only thing holding it on now is going to be clips on both sides. You want to reach on the outside here, just pull up, pop off that side. Do the same thing over here. And there's little alignment tabs across here, so you sort of want to pull out and then lift up off of these as well. And then you can remove your stock bumper. With the bumper off, you want to put it in a safe place that you can work on it. We have a little bit of disassembly to do. We're going to start with the fog lights. You want to hang on to the hardware too, as you will be reusing it. Next, remove this trim panel here so we can remove our marker light. With the two clips down there, and one more at the top. The panel off, separate the marker light by removing these 3 screws. Then repeat the process on the other side. Now we're going to move on to the plastic impact absorber here. This is held on by clips. Again, just push the clips in. Once you get one of them going, the rest of them will come out pretty easy. Then the last thing we're going to need for now off our factory bumper is going to be this rubber seal. Now to get this off, we push these little clips through. The screws off. Now we're going to remove these J-clips as well, as they're going to be reused on our new bumper. Begin with the marker lights. We want to grab one of the J-clips we removed. Pop it right in there. You want to grab the correct Roush bracket and the matching marker light. And basically get it lined up and install to the bracket with the original hardware. Now these are self-tapping screws, so they're not going to thread in. Just get them started and they'll go in pretty easily. And put the bracket in place over here. And reinstall with original hardware. And once you're finished, repeat the process on the other side. To install the fog lights, we've got to remove them from the factory brackets. Now, the fog lights are identical. They are not side specific. So what we're going to do is put them in place, line up these holes, make sure the plug is facing down, and install them with the supplied screws. Now, because we assembled our front fascia for the introduction of this video, there's 2 steps that you're going to have to do that we sort of skipped. One of them is the grill. Very simple. Use the supplied foam, and it just presses into these clips. No big deal at all. Same thing with this lower splitter here. Splitter is going to screw on to the J-clips that are already mounted. Once those 2 things are done, Now we're going to install the spacer we need for the performance pack car. This is the spacer for the front splitter where the belly pan connects to it. Now, this is only needed if you have a GT performance pack car, which my car is. What you're going to do with this, simply going to line it up and use the supplied screws to install it. And the next step here is to install the impact absorber off the original bumper. Has the same style tab, just line everything up, push it down into place. Now we're finished with the assembly of our Roush fascia. All right, this time now, before we put the fascia on the car, we do have a little bit of wiring to do. The reason being is Roush moves the fog lights more inboard, and the original harness is simply not going to reach. So what we're gonna do is basically peel this tape back first, and then we're gonna strip these wires and install the Roush extension harness so everything reaches. Now this is the harness we're going to be installing so our extension harness fits properly. You wanna pay close attention to the orientation of the wires. You'll notice this slot in the middle here. You wanna make sure the wires go into the right spots on the new harness. All right, so with the slot facing out, black wires on top. Now this peeled back, there are two ways you can do this. Like I said, Roush provides all the necessary terminals to cut the wire right here and extend it and put a new end on it. What I'm going to do instead is actually remove the terminals and de-pin this plug and put the pins into the other plug, which I think is gonna be a little bit easier. To do that, start by popping off this white cap. You'll see the small screwdriver. Now if you look inside here, you'll see two little plastic clips, one there and one there. What you want to do is sort of pull on the wire a little bit. Click on that clip and the pins will come out. Now remember the orientation, we talked about this before. The slot was facing outward and the black wire was on the top. So you see the little metal stud sticking up? That's gonna go in that way. Just push it in, it'll lock in place. And the same thing with the bottom, the studs face away from the center. Might have to give it a little push with the screwdriver, but you'll hear a little click when it locks in place. You need to take this connector here, put it between the wires, and lock it in. Now with the harness assembled, we're going to plug it into the extension. Fish that over in the middle and do the same thing on the other side. All right, now we're ready to put the fascia back on the car. For this step, grab an extra set of hands. It'll make it a lot easier to line it up and put it into place. All right, now I'll do one side at a time, bring them back, line them up with the clips up here. And clip it in place. All right, the bumper hanging, now we can put on the original seal. Just line up the clips and push them in. Now we can reinstall the original hardware. Next we install the two little small screws on each side. Now the radiator cover can go back on. Now we're going to install the fog light wiring. Just fish it however you can to get it over here. And now reinstall the marker light plugs. And then repeat the process on the other side. Now we're going to reinstall the small screw in here that connects the fender to our bumper cover. Now we're going to install the top two clips here, the push pins for the wheel well. And then this one down here, we're going to have to drill a hole. Simply line everything up and just drill a hole. Now repeat the process on the other side. But before we put the belly pin on, we're going to double check, just make sure our lights work. Check the marker lights, make sure the headlights work. And make sure your ignition's on when you check your fog lights. Before we can reinstall the belly pan, we're going to install these little J-clips. Put these on the spacer we put on our car because it is a performance pack car. And now we're going to put the original belly pan back into place. Now we'll install the supplied screws over here on the end. We'll install the push pins for the plastic to the wheel well. And your installation's finished. I don't know what to say except I absolutely love the way this looks. Ever since I saw my first Roush in 2015, I've loved the look of this bumper, and I'm glad I finally got one on my car. The installation is a little time consuming, it really isn't that hard, but give yourself about 3 or 4 hours, you'll be back on the road in no time.